Well, let's get more on the situation involving Julian Assange now. For the latest, our Europe correspondent Philip Williams joins us from London. Phil, take us through what we know right now.
Right, well, the latest is that the Ecuadorian Foreign Minister has said that the British government is threatening to storm the embassy where Julian Assange has been held out for a couple of months. Now, that's kind of half been denied by the British, but what is clear is that they have read the Riot Act in a sense, in that the British government appears to have said, look, we can revoke your diplomatic immunity. We can effectively remove the protections that he lives under from that building. Now, the Ecuadorian government has taken that a step further and said this looks like it's going to be a threat of being stormed. So that's where the difference is. That may be an extrapolation. They say they've received that in a letter. I think that was fairly unlikely that the British government would actually threaten to actually storm the building, but to remind them that they can revoke that immunity, yes, they certainly have admitted that. So it's really it's a cat and mouse game of diplomacy at the moment, but it's got very heavy now. And clearly the reason the British are moving in the way they are is because they feel that there is a decision imminent about the fate of Julian Assange. But all of this is fairly academic in the sense that even if he is granted diplomatic immunity, he's stuck in that embassy unless of course, the British did carry out some sort of a raid, because as soon as he steps outside, the British say we're under an obligation because of the treaties with Sweden to arrest him and have him extradited to Sweden as according to the law and the process of the law. So it's a very odd situation we're now in, with two governments very much at each other's throats. And in fact, the Ecuadorians described it as an improper of a democratic, civilised and rule-abiding country to do what they've done. And he said, we're not a British colony. So it's getting very, very nasty indeed.
Phil, we're just seeing pictures of the Ecuadorian Foreign Minister, Ricardo Patiño, giving that press conference in Quito, in Ecuador, just a short time ago. What's likely to happen next?
That's the big question. How far are the British willing to go? How real is that interpretation of what the British have said by the Foreign Minister, and how imminent is all of this? So there are many questions, but none of which are answered, except all we do know is that Julian Assange at this moment remains inside that embassy. He has no way out. He can leave by car, although he would have to get from the building to the car. They could actually stop the car. The police could stop the car, but not force him out of the car unless that car has diplomatic immunity removed from it. But eventually, of course, he would have to leave the car. He couldn't live there forever, and they would arrest him. So it's, in a sense, if he is granted immunity, it's a symbolic victory for him. But in a practical sense, he's still trapped in that embassy in London.
Phil Williams in London. We'll leave it there. Thank you.